Good morning, everybody. So I'm actually really quite excited to kind of go over um, the 10 tips I have for you guys, or these must-know tips. Now, a lot of people have always asked, how did you get started in real estate? How do I get into real estate? You know, um, Everyone's really excited to get into it because let's be honest, they see the potential of how much money can be made, and they probably know someone else that has done really well in real estate. And that's 100% true. There is a ton of money to be made in real estate. What you often don't hear about is when people lose. People do lose. I've lost. It's part of the game. There is a risk with the reward. If it was easy to make money in real estate, which many people think for anyone that's successful, they think it's easy, then everyone would do it. So, what I really wanted to do was essentially have this sort of casual conversation around what are the things you need to think about if you're getting into real estate. Now, this isn't a comprehensive list. This isn't everything. There's a lot of factors that go into what you do or what type of real estate you go into. Okay. If you're getting started in condos or you're getting started in single family, multifamily. Maybe you decide to go into commercial or industrial. There's lots of different types of real estate. It's not just single family homes. Each one of them has their own criteria and risks and things that you need to think about. My goal of this webinar is just to really give you guys an overview and kind of lead you through some things that you may want to think about when you're getting into it. Now, for those of you that are already in real estate, this is something that maybe stuff that you haven't addressed, that you've already started and you haven't addressed, and maybe you want to go back and look at, or things that you didn't even think about because they haven't become an issue yet. That's often true is you don't know about something that you need to take care of until it becomes an issue. So let's kind of talk about. So what I've really kind of titled this as is 10 must know tips to get into real estate. But in reality, really what it is sort of 10 must know areas that you want to address if you're getting into real estate. Okay. There's a lot more than 10 tips that you need to get in, but if you can lock down these 10 general topics, and I'm going to give you specifics under each one just so you get an idea of kind of where it goes, you will be leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else. Okay. You will separate yourself from others so quickly because you've done the work before you get into the business. Getting into the business is the fun, the exciting side. Unfortunately, this is sort of the boring side, but I talked about the risk versus reward. Well, these tips will help your reward be higher and your risk be lower. So you're going to have that gap be bigger, which gives you way more opportunity to be successful. So let's get into the first tip. So this one I hope is quite obvious, is about educating yourself. Now, educating yourself doesn't necessarily mean you need to go to school. Okay. Educating yourself means you need to educate yourself about what you're about to do. And you can do this through a multitude of ways. You can take real estate courses. Okay. We offer some real estate courses in regards to flipping condos. We're going to have a new one coming out in regards to how to build a single family home. You can attend webinars just like this about different real estate topics. The idea is to try to soak as much information up as you can about the type of real estate you're going into and even just general real estate principles because there's more to real estate than just buying and selling properties. Okay. That's like the most basic way to describe it, but there's so much more you have to consider. Find a mentor. You need somebody that can help steer you through this journey. Okay. Whether that's, experienced real estate agents, brokers, coaches like myself, people that can provide guidance so that you have support because you're going to have questions. You're going to get into situations where you don't know what to do. And you want an established relationship with somebody that can help you out. Okay. This is a really important thing. I don't care what venture you're going in. If you're learning to golf, hire a golf coach or hire a mentor or go play with somebody that you already knows the game so they can help you in the beginning because you're going to have the most stumbles in the beginning. Now, I've been in this business for a very long time. I still have mentors that I contact depending on what type of real estate I'm doing. Okay. I have somebody that I talk to when it comes to condos. I have somebody that I talk to when it comes to single family. And I have somebody that I talk to when it comes to commercial. Okay. It doesn't all have to be the same person. But it's important that you have some kind of a safety net set up of where you can go when issues happens, because when they happen, you may not have the time to go find that person then. Be smart. Okay. Real estate is probably the largest purchase any of us will make in our lives. Okay. When you're a real estate investor, sometimes the values can get extremely high. You need to understand that there's going to be legal ramifications to what you're doing in real estate. Okay. Don't just make assumptions. Okay. Ask questions, do your due diligence. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later. But, you know, having a practical understanding of what's happening in the type of business that you're in, the type of real estate you're doing is super important. Um, a lot of people just make assumptions or feel, oh, you know what, I'll figure that out then or figure that out later. I really suggest against that. Do some research first. Once again, talk to your mentor, talk to a coach, be part of a community, somewhere where you can ask questions and learn. Um, it's like you wouldn't jump into the ocean if you never knew how to swim. If nobody ever taught you how to swim, you wouldn't just jump into the ocean. You would go take lessons and you would have an idea how to swim before you do it. And you'd probably work up to it. You'd probably start in pools, right? Maybe then you go to a lake. Then maybe you go into the ocean. Okay. So you would be smart that you're not going to just jump in the ocean because I don't know what I'm doing yet. It's the same thing with real estate. This is probably the most overlooked thing when it comes to people getting into real estate is you have to figure out what type of real estate you're going to go after. What type of investor are you? Are you buying and flipping your own personal properties? Are you going to buy properties that you're going to rent and then flip? Are you going to buy, develop? Are you going to buy reno? What's your plan? Okay. You have to have also an idea. Am I in it for short term or long term? Because the criteria that you go to buy a property would be completely different if you're doing something short term or long term. Okay, you may be buying in the same area, but there's definitely advantages or advantages you can take advantage of. Sorry, depending on what type of real estate you're going after. Identify your risk. So your risk tolerance is essentially, I'm just going to break it down very simply. How much money am I willing to lose on this venture? How much time am I willing to lose? Okay, because when you start this venture, if it's your main business or if it's a side business, how much time am I willing to allocate to this? Okay, also, how much financial risk am I willing to put in? If you're willing to risk it all, you may be able to go after something larger. For myself personally, I never risk my personal residence on any investment I go on. That's kind of as far as I'm willing to go. Other people have a higher risk tolerance. Other people have a lower risk tolerance. You need to figure that out. And you also have to match that to what kind of investor type you are. If you have, let's just say you're not willing to lose you don't want more than $100,000 at risk. You're probably not going to build a single family home, not anywhere in Canada, because the risk of you losing $100,000 is quite high, especially if you don't know what you're doing. Figure out what kind of money you want to make. Okay. If you're like, I need to make $1 million this year and I want to do it through real estate. Well, doing that through smaller investments is probably going to be pretty hard. Number one, 12 months in real estate goes by really fast. And if you're only dealing with three to $400,000 properties, to get the profit margin in order to make that $1 million is going to be difficult. If you're just looking to supplement your income, and let's say you want to do this on the side and you just want to add an extra $50,000 to $100,000 to your income every year, well, then you could definitely go after something smaller and simpler. That's also going to lower your risk. Your risk is going to be, you're mitigating your risk by going after lower values. And also the amount of time that you need to commit will be less because typically they're simpler projects. Okay. This is something where a lot of people reach out that they just want to get in. And this is really where we talk about flipping condos being such a valuable way to get people into this industry, because every single topic I talk about throughout this really is the easiest way to learn by doing condo flips or by doing essentially lower value flips. Okay. You have to have some type of financial plan. Where are you currently? How much money do you have? How much money can you allocate? How much money can you borrow? Do you have any liabilities that are going to be coming up? Like, let's say you are going to go into a real estate investment and you have your current home, but your mortgage renewal is in a year and this project isn't going to complete for a year. Will you be able to renew your mortgage on your current home if you have this other property and you're using all of your savings in order to develop it? Maybe, maybe not. So you want to know an idea of what are my liabilities that I need to pay out over the next 1, 2, 3, 4 years, depending on the type of project you're doing, and how much money do I have that I can allocate? Okay. Do you have any big expenses coming up? Maybe you have a wedding coming up that you're planning, and a lot of money's going to go to that. So maybe you can't put it into a single family home, but maybe you can do a condo flip because you can get that done in 2 to 3 months and make a quick return. So it's important to evaluate and understand where your finances are, and also to talk to a mortgage broker, a bank, a lender, whomever, to see how much money can you qualify for, what is the max you can borrow, and what kind of situation is going to put you in, so you really know what your financial picture looks like. This kind of leads into my second thing. Explore the financing options. See what all your financing options are. Okay. It's not just about a traditional mortgage. Can you get a line of credit? If you own a home, can you get a HELOC, right? Something off your own home. Are there any private lenders you can approach? Maybe the rates are higher, but maybe the borrowing terms are better, right? Terms are very important when it comes to borrowing. Maybe you already have some savings set aside. Maybe you have some RRSPs and you want to cash them out, but there's tax implications. What is all the options you have um, in order to finance these projects? And also, you want to budget for contingency. So let's just say you want to keep a certain amount aside for if something goes wrong. One other thing you could also do is, it's not the best thing, but it is an option, is let's say you have money in RRSPs. You can pull them out. And as long as you pay them back before the next tax season, you generally don't incur a penalty. Okay, check for that yourself. So maybe you can use your RRSPs if it's, you're starting this project in January and you're going to finish it in June. Maybe you can actually use your RRSPs, talk to your accountant, make sure everything's okay, and you can use that as your contingency. If you're willing to also tolerate that risk, that if you don't get that money back, number one, you've got to pay taxes on it on that tax year. And number two, you've lost that money. Are you okay with that? Right. Next thing, research the market. Now, a lot of people are like, obviously, Jack, I'm going to research the market. I'm going to figure out, you know, um, where I should buy, what I should buy. It's really important to look at what the local trends are for the area you are buying. Okay. You want to think about, okay, number one, if you're buying a house to rent it out, you want to research what the rental rates are for the type of home you're buying. If you're looking to flip a property, you're probably going to want to look at how much are newly renovated properties selling for in that area, right? So you kind of have a scope of, if I buy it for this much, cost me to renovate it, this is what I can sell for. You also probably going to look at how long are properties sitting in the market in that area. Okay, so if you're like, I want to do a quick flip, but the average time for a property to sell in the area you're looking in is 3 months, that may not be something you want to do. Maybe you could make a lot of money and you'd have to put down your risk tolerance and say, am I willing to wait longer because properties do sell in this area, they just take longer? Or is it a really quick sale, right? That will adjust kind of your priorities. So it's really important to do your due diligence and figure out, this is the property I'm buying, the type, This is what I want to do with it, and this is when I want to sell it, and this is how much money I want to make, and this is my risk. Are you guys kind of getting the idea of how you think this through? Hit me up in the comments if this is making sense. Okay. Identify growth areas. So this is really good for long-term investments. It can also be for short-term, but you're not really going to realize the maximum gain on a growth area in the short term. So if you're going to buy a property, and let's say you look at the official community plan, the OCP for that area, and you see that area is going to get redeveloped. Well, maybe as a long-term strategy, you're going to buy the property in that area, fix it up a little, and turn it into a rental property. And you're using that to hopefully be cash flow positive so that when it does get redeveloped, you have that property, the value goes up, and that's where you make your money. You're not actually making your money on the year over year rental. You're making your money and hoping in 2 to 3 years that area is going to develop, or you already know it's going to be developed because it's part of the community plan. Now, risk tolerance there is community plans can change. Okay. I actually had a property that I was one block, actually two houses away. They moved the line back from the where the OCP where they were going to redevelop. So I kind of got a little bit burned. But I had already bought the property, I renovated it, and I knew I'd already made money that if I had to sell it after the renovation, we were very cash flow positive rental, and we were also going to make money on the sale. Was it as much as I wanted? No, but I didn't lose anything, and I had already thought about that when we bought the property. Um, Understand economic indicators. So you need to know what's happening. Everybody, kind of looks at what's happening with interest rates, right? But employment rates, are you buying in an area where they're hiring a lot of people? Um, I believe there was an area in North Vancouver where they were building a shipyard and they were going to be hiring 1,000 skilled workers. Well, those 1,000 skilled workers are going to probably try to move closer to that area because they want to be closer to where they work. And if there isn't a lot of properties there, maybe they're looking for rentals. Okay. Amazon. Amazon moves into areas and opens these, fulfillment centers, and they hire thousands of people. Well, if you are looking for a property and you know that Amazon's coming, maybe that's an area where it's great for a rental property, or what maybe might later on get developed. Those are kind of things that you want to look for. Those are kind of indicators. It's not just about interest rates. Okay, you want to see what the general economy is doing, how the city's doing, how the area is doing. All right, maybe there's rapid transit coming in that area. That's also another reason why people tend to move somewhere, right? They want to be near transit. You have to get out and network. Okay, the real estate business is a people business. Okay. You have to have relationships. So, how do you get those relationships? You can do things like going to networking events. Okay. There's real estate events, there's mixers, conferences, live webinars. You can also, obviously, we'll touch on this, going to pre school and things like that. But you have to get around the people that are in the business. Okay. And it's not just realtors, it's investors too, mortgage brokers, surveyors, trades, everybody that's working around houses can be an option to find out about potential real estate investments. Okay. If you watch my other seminar on finding off market deals, we talk a lot about this. We go into depth. Join groups. So, Priya School, great place to be. You're here. Networking, be in the chat, be active, talk to people. And this, I'm going to lead right into the second thing is you have to tell people you're in real estate. Tell people what you're looking for. If you're someone that's looking to buy and sell condos, tell people. Because when something comes up and someone knows, oh, I know Jag is looking to buy a condo right now. I have to get rid of this place. Maybe my mortgage is coming up. I have another investment I want to go after. I want to clear this one out. Oh, let me call Jag and see if he wants to take this on. I'll cut him a good deal because I need to get rid of it quick. You have to talk to people and let them know. Now, if you're shy, believe it or not, I'm actually pretty shy. I'm not the biggest fan of getting on there talking to people, but I force myself to do it. Um, you can be online in these kind of communities, right? You can get to know people really, really well online. And it can be a safe space. That's why we created Priya School. It's a safe space to communicate, ask questions, no dumb questions. Okay. I have a really good friend of ours that is actually scared to come to Priya School because she's so fearful of asking a dumb question. And I keep telling her there are none. Okay. And she even asked me a couple of the questions she wanted to ask. And I'm like, that is not even close to a dumb question. Right. So get in there, communicate, ask questions. You know what we talked about in the very beginning? Educate yourself. That's how you do it. If you don't understand something, ask the question. There's lots of people out there that are just jumping, waiting to help somebody, to share their information, share their knowledge. All right. Develop a strategy. So we talked about this basically on all the previous points. What are you going to be doing in real estate? All right. Before I go to the topic here, I want to sort of step into this one a little bit more. If you're going to get into this business, number one, treat it like a business. Okay. So you need to think about, what is my strategy to have this business succeed? So the first thing is, what's my product? Okay. Your product is what you're going to go after, right? Are you going to go after condos, townhomes, single family, multifamily? In order to do that, okay, I've got a product. How do I buy that product? Okay. What's going to cost me to buy it? You need to think about that. It's also depending on what kind of product you go after. How am I going to pay for that product? Okay. What's my financing options? All right. You guys see kind of where we're going down this road. Next thing is, I'm going to sell this product. Now, if I'm just buying it and reselling it, what am I doing to improve that product in order to get more value for myself? Am I just looking to find properties that maybe I get a low price and just quickly flip them without even being involved? Am I maybe, looking to do lipstick on a pig? Or am I looking to do a wholesale development? All of those come with obviously a whole different realm of smaller things that you need to think about, but you need to come up with a strategy. So choose your niche. Okay. You cannot do every type of real estate. Okay. Well, maybe not in the beginning. You need to become essentially an expert on the area that you want to work in order to be the most successful. All right. I've done a ton of single family. I've done some commercial. If I just jump straight into commercial, and I did this through somebody, I learned through them, I followed them, they were my mentor when it comes to commercial. If I went straight into it, I probably would make a huge amount of mistakes. And the amount I learned from him already, I know I would have made a huge amount of mistakes. So find the niche of the area. So sorry, let's just talk about, how do you choose your niche? You want to look at what your finances will allow you to go after. Okay. We talk about contingencies. You want to make sure no matter what you're doing, you can afford it successfully, right? You don't want to always be, behind the eight ball. Absolutely. There's times where you 100% want to take risk. No doubt about it. But in general, you want to make sure that you can support the niche you're going after. So if you've only got $500,000 to invest, I don't think you're going to go after multifamily properties. Okay. You should go after condos, right? Maybe some single families, depending on the area you're looking at. You know, you have to work the strategy from beginning to end to understand, does this niche work for me? And you might be like, Jack, I really want to do single family, but I can't afford them yet. What do I do? That's where you start off with condos. And you basically, you earn your stripes through condos. There's a lot to learn doing condos before you go into single family. Um, even for myself, when I went from single family and I started doing multifamily, there was quite a few little changes that I had to learn of going from single to multi, even though I'm basically constructing a home. I'm talking small scale multifamily, right? Triplexes, quadplexes, sixplexes. But then you can go from there, multifamily, and go to apartments. In order to do that, like I said, I went to a mentor and I learned more about that business. But I always knew that single family was kind of my niche, and it's where I was the most successful because, you know, I feel like I'm an expert when it comes to doing single family. Define your area. You also want to know where you want to buy these properties in. Okay. You might be like, okay, I'm going to do BC. Well, I would say that's probably a pretty wide area. Are you going to understand what property values are and how they work in northern BC? And then are you going to be able to know that in West Vancouver? Right? Let's just take Greater Vancouver as an example. The differences between North Van and West Van can be significant about the way you go after real estate. Between West Van and Richmond, very different. Let's go into Toronto, right? What happens in downtown Toronto is not the same thing that's going to happen in Scarborough or going to happen, in Peel. It's all going to be different. So my suggestion is, if you are starting out, niche down. Okay. Go down as tight as you can and then learn everything about it. And then you can start expanding your net. But most of the most successful people when it comes to real estate, they stick within essentially a niche area because they become known as the expert. And as you're networking with people, they're like, you know what? I know Jag is always flipping condos. So if I need to get rid of a condo, I can call him. I know Jag is always doing single family. I have this lot. He might be ready to buy it, or he probably knows somebody that's looking to buy it. And you simplify other people's lives. And that's kind of how you build up your business. Plan your exit strategy. So a lot of people I know actually don't even think about this. What is your long-term plan? How much money do you want to make? What's your goal? Right? If you don't know where you're going, how do you start? What's the purpose of you getting in this? Are you looking to make $1 million and be done? Are you looking to make $4 million and be done? Are you looking to make $1 million a year? And then that's kind of your goal is you want to average out. You want to have rental properties and you want to have passive income and you want it to be $1 million a month. Okay. All of those are different goals, but you have to think about, how do I exit out? What are my plans? There's tax implications. Okay. Maybe you have children, you know, you want to think about and talk with your accountant and have these really kind of broad conversations about, this is what my plans. They can change. That's fine. It's 100% okay to change them. But have some kind of goal of what you're trying to achieve, and when you feel like this is kind of what I'm striving to get to, because it will motivate you to get there faster. You've heard of people having dream boards. They'll put a fancy car up there, or they'll put a house, or they'll put something else up there, and that's their goal. They know, if I'm looking to buy a $500,000 car, if I'm only making $50,000 a year, and I'm at the end of the year, I only can save 5,000, I'm probably not going to reach that goal. I need to step up. So knowing kind of where you're trying to go to and what you're trying to reach will really motivate you and center you on what you should do when you're developing your strategy. Okay, do your due diligence. So when you're dealing with real estate, there are a lot of things to think about. Okay, the number one thing most people think is inspections. That is just the very, very tip of the iceberg. Okay. But I'm just going to talk about that for a couple seconds. Is when you're buying something, okay, or selling it even, or whatever, and this goes with anything, do you feel qualified to make the decision of buying it, right? If you were buying a house and you're going to renovate it, do you feel qualified to walk in that house and identify if it has any structural issues, electrical issues, plumbing issues, evaluate the roof? Can you evaluate the landscape, right? Are there trees that are going to be problems? You know, do you have the ability to look at it? You're like, oh, I'm just buying a lot, Jag. I don't care about the house. Well, there's a lot of due diligence to do with the house. Okay, are there any electrical guy wires in the way? Are there trees that you can't remove? Is there a stream running underground that's going to limit what you can do? These are things that I look at when we look at lots. Okay, it's always important that you do your due diligence, and it's not always about just hiring someone. Okay, I'll get into that in a second. Read the fine print. So what this is about is, when you buy a home or a condo or whatever, there's paperwork that comes with it. Okay, there's going to be titles, Form Bs. There's going to be strata docs, depending on what you're looking at. You have to go through it. Right. Now, this leads me kind of to my next point, is using professionals, right? If you do not understand how to read a title properly, or if it's more than a basic title, hire someone that's a title expert. And that doesn't necessarily mean your lawyer. There are people that are specific to reviewing titles. Okay. If you don't know how to evaluate the lot you're buying, maybe you want to talk to a builder that understands about what's going to happen with that lot, or an architect. Okay. Real estate agents generally don't have all of that specific knowledge. So just relying on a real estate agent sometimes cannot work. And I generally don't. Okay. Real estate agents are great for handling the deal and the navigating, the negotiating, and all that stuff, but they generally don't have all the specific knowledge that can come into completing a real estate deal. Okay. If it's commercial, they generally don't know that much about leases, right? Especially the fine print. So you want to make sure that you kind of, we're going to talk about building a team later, is you know who you need to connect with when you're buying the property so that you can review things. And this is really about risk management, which we're going to talk about. Okay. It's having somebody review, and you should look at it yourself because you're not going to learn if you don't look at it. Okay. So I know it sucks sometimes reading through all these documents, but go have your lawyer review it, have a title guy review it, have the agent review it, whomever, but ask questions about stuff as you go through it so you can learn, right? The goal is eventually that you know enough about it and you're just hiring these people as a second set of eyes. Okay. They're basically just kind of checking your homework, right? Create a team. So we've kind of talked about this. The first thing you're going to need if you're in it is a real estate agent. Now, you may be an agent yourself, but depending on the type of real estate you're going after, you may not be an expert in that type of real estate. So maybe for the first one, you want to hire an agent and learn about that type of property, that area from this person, and then eventually you can kind of take it over. The other thing is you want to get an agent that understands the type of property and the area you're working in. Okay. So not all real estate agents know about land or single family. They're more condo based. Okay. I have an agent friend that knows everything there is to know about two buildings downtown. He knows everything. He is by far the expert. If I was buying or selling in that property or those properties, I would 100% hire him, even though I'm an agent myself. Okay. Now, if I'm buying maybe some farmland, I would never use him, even though he's an excellent agent. He knows nothing about it. I would go out and find out who is the best realtor in that area for that type of property. Okay. This is a big misconception. People think agents know everything. It's impossible. Nobody can know everything about every type of real estate, right? But what you can do is build up a team of experts so that no matter what kind of real estate you're going after, whatever opportunity, you know who to go to talk to get your do your due diligence. Hire a real estate attorney and accountant. Now, there's a key thing. You're like, okay, get a lawyer, get an accountant. No, get someone that understands real estate. It's the same thing as when I said to your agent, all attorneys do not know about real estate laws. All accountants aren't real estate accountants. Okay. Some of them just work mom and pop shops. Some of them are basically glorified bookkeepers. Okay. You want an accountant and a lawyer that understands the business you're in. Number one, they can protect you a lot better than someone that doesn't do it. The other thing is they can help you take advantage of basically if there's government rebates, if there's tax implications, they can put in things that you may not even be considering. I mean, let's go way back before people were putting in when they were buying lots to develop. They weren't putting in anything in for oil tanks. People would buy the lot. There's an oil tank there, and they'd get with a 10, 15, 20, $25,000 bill. Then basically all that happened is some lawyers started creating a disclaimer that they put inside the purchase and sale contract to put the onus on the seller to let them know, is there a tank? Give me a certificate saying there's no tank, right? Even some of those, they're not foolproof. They're like, we looked, there wasn't one any, but we can't, we don't have x-ray eyes. We can't see under the ground everywhere. So there might be one, but we never found one, right? Now, if you just went to, in the beginning, if you just went to a regular real estate lawyer or whatever, notary or a regular agent that didn't know about this, you wouldn't be protected. But someone that is in the business would be like, hey, especially a real estate agent that buys and sells in a certain area where there's a lot of tanks, be like, hey, I suggest putting this in our contract. I just had this happen on another property. I know about it. They'll be at the forefront of knowing what's going on. Okay. That's kind of a negative thing. With accountants, they know what's coming up, like with the tax changes coming up. Okay. I had a long conversation with my accountant. He's like, what are your plans for the next 5 years? Let's figure out kind of your tax strategy for the next 5 years to take advantage of it. And we actually moved some income up earlier so that I'm paying the taxes on it now when I plan to pay taxes on it later, because it was actually advantageous for me. Okay, so it's important, no matter what person is in your team, that the person you're hiring is an expert or is at least very knowledgeable in the area that you're working. Okay. You can't build your whole team before you start. Okay. It's impossible. So you need to create the core of your team. And in my mind, the core of the team is your real estate attorney, your real estate accountant, and your real estate agent. Okay. That's the core. After that, I would start bringing in contractors, surveyors, inspectors, engineers. And engineers, there's a ton. There's structural, mechanical, electrical, and that's only really more for commercial. And residential will generally just be structural. Environmental. Okay. There's arborists. They can be a huge one. When you're looking at a property, you may want to get them to swing by. Yeah, it's going to cost you some money, but can you look at that tree and see if that tree can come down or not, or if it's going to be saved, right? You want to have those kind of people on your team. I have an architect that I've worked with a lot. I've paid him a lot of money over the years, but what has bought me is when I'm looking at a lot and the type of properties that he does, mostly are multifamily, I can just call him and say, hey, I'm looking at this lot. This is the zoning. Can you pull it up and let me know, is this a good candidate? Okay, I want to do a sixplex. He can review it really quick and say, yeah, no, no, that one's not good. They have this rule. This rule is going to impact a lot. Oh, this tree is going to cause an issue. And that kind of just helps me speed through my work. So, like I said, build your small team and then slowly fill in things as you grow it. And this is also a huge advantage of being in somewhere like Priya School. You can meet other people that are part of this business. Okay. We have building inspectors in our group. We have electricians. We have engineers. I don't think we have an arborist. We have lots of real estate agents. We have lots of mortgage brokers, lenders. You can meet these people and start building your team from there. And over time, you'll build it bigger and bigger and bigger. Start small. Kind of the same thing we sort of talked about. I believe if you're just getting into this business, that you should really start with small projects like condos or lower value rentals. And let me talk about why. Especially with condos, you don't have to generally deal with anything mechanical because all of the major mechanical is handled by the building, all the major electrical, all the major structural. Okay. Generally, the kind of rentals you're going to do on a condo are going to be lipstick on a pig. And the ones that we suggest are going in and doing mostly cosmetic rentals. Now, the other advantage is you don't need to do a permit. The way we show you in the program to do it, you can legally do these rentals without a permit. You can call the city up and tell them exactly what you're doing, and they'll say, no, you don't need a permit. Okay. And we're very strategic about that because that also shortens the amount of time we're in the real estate. Okay. So starting small with a condo, basically you lower your risk because you don't have the knowledge about all of the specific things you need to know, mechanical, electrical. You're doing a much simpler reno. So your pool of people and experts that you need is smaller. Okay. So you don't have to worry about trying to find 1,000 different trades and stuff like that. You're keeping it small, maybe 5 or 10. Your risk mitigation is high, which means you're really doing a lot to mitigate your risk. Okay. So your risk is low, I should say, is probably a better way to say it. Because a lot of things are basically covered within sort of the strata and things like that. The other thing is it gives you experience in learning how to deal with trades and deal with professionals and things like that. So my suggestion, if you're getting into it, even if you're looking to make more money, the amount of knowledge you can learn if you're not in this business by starting with condos is humongous. Consider a joint venture. So if you want to go after something big, look to team up with someone that's done them before. Okay. So if you have an aunt, uncle, brother, friend, and they do a lot of developments, okay, maybe they do single family or multifamily, say, hey, can I invest with you and can we do one together so that I can learn, right? And gain experience. And then they'll also make sure you avoid common mistakes and kind of take the reins. Have everything go through you. Say, hey, man, I want to do all the paperwork. Make me do all the legwork. I really want to learn about this process. Okay. That's essentially almost like free education. I actually went to go work for a company at a very reduced rate because I wanted to learn about that industry. Okay. I wanted to get into it and I couldn't really find anywhere else to teach me. So that's what I did. When you go through the process and you're done with the investment, you sold the property, whatever it is, go back and do a review. Think of what you could have done better. Write it down. Put it in your list. Put it in however you track you going through a project. Always be adding to it. Okay. Always be adding to your repertoire and learning more and more. and learn from every mistake. Mistakes will teach you way faster than wins. Okay, if you have win, 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 you probably will set yourself up for a bigger loss. If you have a sort of a tough one in the beginning, it's really going to teach you a lot when you go into your second one, right? Stay informed. So you have to keep up to date with what's going on if you're in this game, okay? You need to watch what's happening with the real estate market. You need to look at reports, market analysis for your area. Remember, this is why you want to niche down. Because if you have to look at all of, let's say, BC, Canada, US, Washington State, wherever you are, that's a lot of area to cover. If you niche it down, it's a lot easier to stay in the know. Also, your network is smaller. People you communicate with, go with coffee with your real estate agent, find out what's happening. That's how you stay in the know. Keep learning. Okay. Like I said, I've been in this business a long time. I'm still learning. I love learning more and more and more. I like going into different industries and learning about it. Okay. Because there's a lot of things you can kind of cross train yourself on between different industries. So just continually be learning. Don't be set on your strategy. Okay. You're like, I talked about formulating a strategy in the beginning, define your goals. They're not carved in stone. Change them. As your risk tolerance goes up, maybe you go after something bigger. As your knowledge goes up, maybe you go after something more. Maybe you've seen the area that you're working in, the niche that you're in right now is kind of on a downward trend because you're following the market news and you know what's happening. So you want to shift. Okay. Maybe it's not even you're in condos and you're in this area. And then you see, you know what, this other area is way better. I'm going to shift over there. You kind of have to always adjust your strategies. All right. Be thinking about it. So let's just talk about the three main things I want you guys to get out of this. Okay. So educate, plan, and execute. All right. So educate yourself, get in the community, get around people, get around like minded people, experienced people, be around them, learn from them, get a mentor, whatever it is, find a way to get that education into you. Set clear goals. So you have to figure out your financial plan and what you want to do. Okay. Think about your exit strategy. Define how much you're willing to invest. What's my risk tolerance? Okay. Outline it. What's my whole plan? How long do I want this to take? How fast do I need to return? Really sit down and define what you're trying to do. And that will also help you in choosing your niche. All right. Sorry, guys. Down here. 1 second. The last thing is do your due diligence. Okay. It's really important that you do your own due diligence. Okay. I want you guys to know, sorry, it doesn't come up on the slide here. When it comes to due diligence, I'm going to say this, trust no lies. Okay. Some people like to say trust no truths, right? What that means is even though you've gone to an expert and they've told you this, okay, read over it yourself. Does it make sense? Maybe do some of your own research. As you get in this business longer and longer, this will become easier and easier. But the number one way to mitigate risk, okay, to be the safest in this business is doing your own due diligence. Don't trust that the real estate agent says this property is great. Buy in this area, it's awesome. Do your own research. Is that area good? Ask questions, maybe. Ask leading questions saying, why is this area good? What have you done in research to figure out this area is better than the other? Why is this property better than the other? What do you know? Right? Why is this price good? Don't just be like, oh, it's good. Okay, sure. Yeah, let's buy it. Right? Just like when you get documentation, what was in the documentation? Anything I need to know about? I looked over the title. I see this one thing registered against it. What's this about? Okay, where did you find out? Have you seen that before? Do we need to talk to a title lawyer? Do your own due diligence. Don't trust anyone. Okay, that doesn't. I want you to say it. It's more like that's why I like to say, trust no lies, trust no truths. Okay, do your own work, figure it out. So I hope you guys kind of like what we went through here. The goal was really to kind of give you guys sort of a casual overview of what I would look into if I was to start this business over again. If I had somebody give me and mentoring me and helping me when I got into this business, these are things I would have liked to known about. These are sort of things that would have tripped me up. Okay. I've made a lot of mistakes that if I had done my work based on this list, I would be a lot further ahead. Right. So hopefully you found this helpful, and hopefully I see you guys over on Priya School. Have a great day.